Let's switch gears now and focus on U.S. men's national team at Mexico. Let's preview it at the Azteca. The level on points in qualifying heading into this game. Andy's already rubbing his hands with glee. USA second in CONCACAF qualifying, but I said level on points with Mexico sitting third. Andy, I'm going to come to you first. What do you expect from this game? Because it's been a weird one to kind of judge, right, in the last few years. So what do you expect?
I think DeMarcus put it perfectly. He said sometimes there's not a lot of football going on. There's a lot of extracurriculars. There's a little bit of jostling going on. There's a lot of gamesmanship that comes into these U.S.-Mexico games. And so I think the fact that this young group, because we've said that a million times over the last handful of years, they've been through these games a couple of times. They played through a really big one last summer in the Nations League final. Then they had Mexico at home during World Cup qualifying. So they've been through that a little bit. And so what I really want to see from this game coming up on Thursday, and obviously all three of the final games to close out World Cup qualifying, is I want to see that growth and progression from the experiences that this team has had over the last couple of years since World Cup qualifying began, since they got back to playing competitive games kind of post-pandemic and post being in that 2018 World Cup lull where they were just not involved. And so this is really kind of the culmination. And I was joking a little earlier when I said, 2,821 days, this is what we've been waiting for. But it really is true. It is all culminating up to this week and these next 7 or 8 days where we're going to find out if this team goes to the World Cup or not.
I'm thinking about this. The US has never won at Mexico in World Cup qualifying. Nick, can they do it? Because this would be a huge step for this young side. As Andy mentioned, they've beaten them in recent games on home soil, but this is different, right?
Yeah, well, think about it this way. Considering we have a World Cup ahead, there are some uneven things to consider when it comes to the future of Greg Berhalter. If this team goes there and wins, whatever happens, if he mangles the World Cup, if they lose every other game, the one thing he'll be able to say is he never lost to Mexico. I mean, he's beaten them in 3 competitions, right? So I don't think they've lost in this decade. Granted, it's 2022 and it's 2020. So Greg Berhalter's tenure may end up being known for the hold he put on Mexico, especially because of all the uproar, and I think rightly so, about Tata Martino not even getting the chance to be a real part of the discussion when he wanted the U.S. job. So I think this is a very big game for the coach. I feel like we've said that a lot. and I feel like we mentioned that an awful lot. But the fact of the matter is, and I wrote something about this at ProSoccerTalk.com, the team and the talent has given us hope. Big games, he's given us hope. But that's all we have. We still don't have a consistency of play, a philosophy, a thought that he's going to put the absolute best players out there. So this is huge for him. Getting to a World Cup is obviously the thing here, because when you consider how big of a failure not making it would be, I can't even put words to that.
I mean, Andy, Nick mentioned it there. Mexico kind of struggled through qualifying as well. It's not like they're at their best and they're trying to work out and get the best out of Jimenez and other star attackers. I mean, this is not a bad time to play them, right? And kind of go and get your first win, because they haven't been the Mexico of previous World Cup qualifying cycles where they've blown teams away at home. So there's a chance here.
Yeah, there is. I also think that one factor of it is CONCACAF is improving as well, and Canada becoming what Canada has become during this cycle, I think has made it a little bit more difficult, and it just kind of it frames the CONCACAF hierarchy just a little bit differently when it's been either U.S.-Mexico or Mexico-U.S. for the last, again, 20 years, basically going back to the 2002 World Cup. It's just been a back and forth between those two. So, it can be, I think, a little bit discouraging at times watching the U.S. and probably for Mexico fans as well to see them not dominate quite the way, continentally that they used to do. But I think it's going to make both of them better in the long run as well. The fact that they face a little bit stiffer competition on the regular just to get to the World Cup in competitions like Nations League and the Gold Cup. So, you might take a few bruises right now in this period. But I think, and especially for the U.S., given the age profile of this team and the experiences, again, that these players are getting and they will have to lean on later into their career, I think it's going to be a really, really crucial time for certainly the US, probably both of these teams as well, just in terms of what the development of the program is going to be. Because the US, few years now, probably ahead on turning over the roster, turning over the player pool, and moving on to a new generation, as Mexico is kind of half in, half out on the old generation and the new generation. So this might be the last time we see Mexico at a peak power for a couple of years, because then they have to kind of undergo that rebuild. And so this might be their last opportunity to really get one over on the US for quite some time.
Wow. Nick, I'm looking at the key battles and the squads and the rosters ahead of this game. Who are we looking at here? There's some key areas, right? Raul Jimenez against Zimmerman and Robinson at centre back, and in midfield, Hector Herrera against Tyler Adams. Herrera was brilliant for Atletico in their recent win away at Manchester United in the Champions League. And then down the one wing, there's the possibility of Pulisic against Jesus Corona. Tecatito, whether he plays in a more advanced role, that's going to be a heck of a battle down that side. So there are great individual battles wherever you look over the pitch. But like DeMarcus Beasley told us, sometimes there's not a lot of great individual play in these games, right? It's all about beating the man opposite you and getting the better of them on the day. And the team that does that most around the pitch will probably win the game.
Yeah, and who's going to make the meanest face that gets caught on camera, right? We've got the Matt Miazga story from before, and everybody can remember in a different scenario, Clint Dempsey. I have to look at that Zimmerman Robinson versus Mexico's entire attack and bring the fullbacks into this discussion as well. And the reason for that is that I look at the decision. Again, no one's making out John Brooks to be an absolute superstar, but leaving a Champions League caliber player at home, one who's going to have a bidding rights for his services this summer, because he's announced that he's leaving Wolfsburg and that he wouldn't sign a new deal that they offered him. Again, I think that's the boldest move we've seen. And it'll be very interesting to see how those guys hold up. Miles Robinson has been fantastic. But even beyond the Brooks question, look, Chris Richards is still coming back from injury, and that's why he's not there. He has been exceptional. And Joe and Andy, we talk, I think most of it tends to be off camera, about how we haven't seen this USMNT team because of the structure of European competition now and international competition. We haven't seen them against very, very good teams. So seeing Zimmerman and Miles Robinson against Mexico it's a litmus test, let's be honest, of how we feel they might be able to do as a pairing in bigger games.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.